There are billions of people in the world, and scientists have proven that we're way more connected than we know. Differences are beautiful that make us unique. But according to some studies, we all have similar links, connections, and acquaintances. This dates back to 1969, a study that was done by Stanley Milgram and Jeffrey Travers, that we are at least 6 degrees off of separation, meaning we are way more closer than we would ever think. So Same Difference is a YouTube show that will highlight 2 seemingly different people that have similar path, similar histories, but also celebrating the differences. This episode is with Dr. Beth Borst, Dean of the Ivy Tech Honors College, and Jay Watts, Executive Director of Diversity, Equity, and Belonging for Central Indiana. Enjoy their story, and if you have any same different stories, feel free to submit to us. We would love to hear it.
Well, Jay, I appreciate being invited today, and I look forward to our casual conversation, how we found each other. I think it's a nice story. I knew from the moment I heard you talk and engage with other people that you had a warm spirit and a I don't know, some goodness, and I was drawn to it. So I appreciate getting to know you a little bit here. But Ivy Tech for about 16 years. I moved to Indiana when I was in high school, actually, with my family. I had moved around quite a bit, had lived East Coast, North, South, never on the West Coast. But pretty much my roots now have been in Indiana since that time. Went down to college down in Bloomington, and soon thereafter got married and had a baby and was a stay-at-home mom for a good while, and then I went back to work. Had a job in media relations for a little bit, and then I actually started teaching part-time at Ivy Tech. And I began to learn about the college and the mission, and I fell in love with it. I fell in love with the students, and just enjoyed, every position I've had since then. I have had a few. But so you and I have a very unique relationship, and we kind of jokingly say maybe that's how we connected so quickly, but our families, our kin are from the same parts in Kentucky. So that was a great discovery to learn that about us, and so maybe that's the special connection.
Yes. So, I am originally from Kentucky, and I am new to Indianapolis. So, being in a larger city, I've lived in larger cities before, but, it's nothing like home. Kentucky is amazing, but I'm originally from Kentucky. I lived in a very rural area. I'm actually currently in Kentucky right now. And it's not always that you meet someone from the small area that your family's from. And my family is from Hazard, Kentucky. And your family is from?
Hazard, Kentucky. Yeah, I mean, who knew?
Yes,
my dad was from that area, and my mom is from another part of Kentucky. So all of my roots are from Kentucky. But I haven't met a lot of people that have migrated from Hazard, Kentucky to Indianapolis in the circles I've been running in. So it's been a real pleasure to meet you and look forward to meeting your family.
Yes, and my mom said, well, you should invite her over for dinner. That is her way. She
That's
is,
right.
you know,
And we talked about this. Folks from our neck of the woods. There's just a real sense of hospitality that is dear to my heart, and I see it in my family, and I'm sure I would see it with your family as well.
yes. And there's and we've been joking about this ever since we found out that our family's from the same area, that there's a possibility that we could be kin.
That's
Very
right.
strong possibility.
That's right. We're thinking probably what, third, fourth cousins, maybe?
Yes.
It's blood.
But from the outside looking, from the outside, you would say, okay, well, these people may not necessarily have a lot of connection. There's a lot of stereotypes when it comes to being Black. There's a lot of stereotypes about, what it means to be white, also from Appalachia. So, there's a lot more similarities to people than what you think. But if it took us actually having to step outside of our box and to actually meet and go out to Starbucks together and chat to actually get to know each other to find this. Imagine if we would not have taken that step to actually meet each other and get to know each other. We would have never known.
It's just so true. And, I have seen this happen with other people from all over the world, actually. Not that we're cousins, but just, getting to know people on a human level. And, if you don't do that, you just, you risk the chance of never, making such a nice connection that we did. And B, you just don't learn who those people are, and they don't get to know who you are. And then you don't get to know how you're similar or different or the same and mixed all of the above. And I just think that's too bad that people don't do a better job really trying to get to know people as people.
Yes. Especially during, these times that we're living in, everyone really focuses on differences. It's easy to focus on how someone may not be like you, but it's even more harder to find similarities. But not as hard as you think. Sometimes it just takes a Starbucks conversation, or sometimes it just takes just being able to have a different view about the people that you're around. I think that sometimes we have a tendency to stay in our silos because it's comfortable. We like to be comfortable, and sometimes it takes uncomfortable conversations, or even just getting to know someone that you don't really know much about to find those connections. So I'm very appreciative of Dr. Borst for being able to allow me the space to really get to know her. She met my part of my family, which is, a big thing for me because family is so important to me. Family is so important to her too. And the fact that even before we knew our kindred connection, she really opened her arms to me joining the staff at Ivy Tech. She was probably one of the first people that actually emailed me and said, congratulations, welcome to Ivy Tech. So I really appreciate the hospitality, being able to connect with you, and your affirmations. Always, your affirmations are always spot on. You always make me feel like I'm welcome and that I belong. So I appreciate you.
Well, I appreciate you as well, and I don't do that to do it. I do it because I want to do it, and I do it because I want to do it. So I'm glad that and you didn't have to open up to me either. So it's a two-way street, right? I mean, we can try to get to know other people, and then maybe they put up their guards. So I think in our case that didn't happen, and here we are. So Yeah, I think the segment of same, different, you're right. We're just not as different as we may think we are. And, particularly, I mean, we just aren't, no matter who we are, where we're from, gender, race, nationality, just the whole language. I know there's a lot lost in translation when you're talking to people from maybe English is not their first language. Maybe you don't speak their language. I mean, it's really takes effort to really, peel those kinds of layers away. If you don't speak the same language, it's particularly hard to really get to know people. But once you do, and again, enjoy learning cultural differences and sameness and the whole 9 yards, it's just a beautiful thing. And I had a real interest in college with international populations. I was studying languages, and I had, like I said, moved around a lot and had been exposed to lots of people who did look like me and didn't look like me. But when I got to college, I really became more involved in international communities, and I was just, again, it's all simple. It's simple. It all boils down to people are people, in my humble opinion. But in those circumstances, it does take a little more effort, often, sometimes, not always, but to really get to know people. So
It does. Hopefully, you all can utilize this story between Dr. Borst and myself, that there are way more similarities than sometimes differences, but you have to peel back those layers in order to understand and really get to know people. Differences are beautiful. We both come from different backgrounds, but being able to find those similar aspects really helps to form a connection. So I hope you all utilize this story and this, connection that we've been able to make to really see that getting to know people is amazing, and it's all about diversity, equity, and belonging. But that belonging aspect is so important. Um, Helping people feel like they belong in an area, especially in a setting that may be different than their own. But as long as we're able to kind of step outside of our comfort zone, not just judge people by the way that they look or by the way that they talk or where they're from, actually getting to know them, that is really what helps people to belong. So I hope you all gathered something from this great narrative. And if you have someone that you may know that you seemingly may be totally different than, but you all found a great connection, feel free to email us. I'll have this on the end of the video. And we would love to hear your story. And maybe you can take over one of these shows and actually tell your story about how you two or all of you all have met. So this is Jay, and
this is Beth. Thanks, Jay. This was fun.
Thanks.
Enjoy your visit.
Thank you.
Tell everyone hello.
Oh, I will, and I'll make sure to tell my mom that you can't come over for food, but maybe another time.
Another time. I'd like that.